Okay, so when we can start, you just tell me, yeah? Okay, so good afternoon, please select a seat for you. Make you feel comfortable, grab some water because, the weather here is really, it sounds like Sahara desert, so grab some water for you. I don't know German language. I would like to say some words in German, but well, you don't know also Portuguese. I'm Portuguese anyway, so I hope you are well. This is Sunday. I know the last day of the festival, but I hope you still have some energy for this session. And well, we intend to do something that will be very insightful for you, and hopefully you will bring something that is interesting to home after this session. My name is Tammy Moreira. As I said, I'm from Portugal. I am a sociologist, project manager and consultant working at Inova Mais. This is an innovation consultancy company based in Portugal. And this session is only possible due to two projects. I need to promote them, sorry for this. This is a kind of sponsorship. The projects are African EU and Stars for Africa. They are funded by the European Commission. And anyway, if you want to know more about innovation, African contexts, collaboration between Europe and Africa, check both projects because we are doing a lot of stuff. African EU actually is launching the two last boot camps in Nigeria and Ghana. Check them. If you are able to join them, great. Otherwise, please just follow the social media because we are posting a lot of things there. About Stars for Africa, and by the way, please scan the QR codes. There are a lot of opportunities in these two projects. About Stars for Africa, we are launching open calls, residencies program, also mentorship programs, capacity building actions. Check the website if you are interested to know more, to also join these kind of residencies programs. All the information is there, please feel free. Currently, we are running an open call for hosts. If you are an organization from cultural or even the scientific or technological side, this call might be for you. Check everything in the website. Today with me, I have my colleague Patricia. Patricia, I know that you wasn't expect this. Please say hello to the audience also. She is also working with me at Inova. We also have Pina. Pina Disease Organization is also working with us for Stars for Africa, and of course, Ars Electronica is also part of this project as well, Glue On. Okay, so what we are going to approach in this session as the title of our not this one, this one. The title of our session, Rebuild Together. So we are trying to rebuild the narratives of our continents. This is an attempt, this is a first step, this session. So we are going to discuss how we can rebuild these narratives, this history, our stories, by approaching the digital, human and arts-driven innovation, in this case, in Africa. We could, of course, also speak about Europe, but in this case, we are only approaching or focusing more Africa continent. And for this, I count on the participation of a great, very inspirational, very innovative group of guests. The session, this panel will be divided into parts. In the first part, we are going to have a conversation with one of the projects here being exhibited in Ars Electronica, Mazakane community. Let me check my notes. So this project won just for me to say the correct thing, the Ars Electronica Awards for Digital Humanity. So we are going to have the first part with this project, exploring a bit what this project is doing, and then in the second part, we open the discussion to and welcome the other guests of our panel. And yes, so one last thing. During all the session, we are opening this Ask for Questions Mentimeter. If you have some questions during the session, please submit them by accessing this QR code. Of course, besides questions, you can also suggest or comment anything that you find useful. At the end, my colleague Patricia will pick one or two questions from the submitted ones. If we are not allowed to select all the questions, I'm guessing that not, we will approach them later on in another sessions virtually. And please follow us to make sure that you also have the chance to address those questions. Okay, so let's start with the first part. Please welcome my first guest. He is a researcher interested in intelligent systems and natural language processing. He is running the Mazakane community project, as I said, and he has greatly contributed to improve the representation of low-resource African language technologies and dataset, and he is also an entrepreneur. Please help me giving him a warm welcome. Please, Chris, join me. Please choose a seat. And well, first question, the basics. Let's start with the basics. Please tell us a bit more about Mazakane, what you do, when it was created, why, who is behind.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? My voice is a bit low.
Yes.
Thank you all for being here, and it's my honor to be here to represent Mazakane. I will be representing over 2,000 people, so it's quite an honor. So Mazakane was created to solve a need, and the need that we're trying to solve is when you look at human language technologies, so that's ChatGPT, Alexa, Siri, Google, translations, they don't represent many of the languages in the world. So we have 7,000 languages and just about less than 4% are represented. And so languages mean culture. And so if these languages are not represented, then the cultures are excluded. And so Mazakane was an effort by many people to try and represent African languages in these human language technologies. It was created around 2000. The idea was born in 2019 at an annual meeting called Indaba. Indaba is an African word which means meeting, and it's like a conference where several people meet in the country, in the African continent, and they talk about machine learning, AI, and several things. As a matter of fact, it's currently going on right now in Ghana. So in the 2019 Indaba, the theme was Mazakane, and it's a Zulu word that means building together. And so the idea, we had people like Jade and Laura. These were two researchers that were trying to enable machine translation for African languages and to do it by building together. So by getting more researchers and language technologists on board to build these machine translation systems. So that's it about the history of Mazakane.
Yeah, you said that you are going also now to Ghana. Can you also tell us what other countries can we find in the community?
Oh, in the community. I think it has more than 40 countries now. There's so many, there's 2,000 people from different parts of Africa, different countries. So yeah, there's Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, so many, Ghana, so many countries being represented. And the idea is to keep growing by forming this community where people can join. And I think one interesting thing about this Mazakane is that there's really no barrier to entry. So many communities, organizations, they have this, you need to have a certain status or you need to fulfill some requirements for you to enter.
Can you explain a bit how, for instance, if I am interested in your community, how can I join it? If I can join it, for instance, as an European citizen?
That it's very easy to join. All you have to do is join the Slack. So you just join go to the website, there's a link to the Slack, you join the Slack, and that's it. And that's it, you're in. So you're in, and the idea is, so you're joining, probably you have an idea you want to explore, maybe you want to do some research, do some project, and it offers you a place to find similar people. So if you want to do a project for some African languages, then you can come and write on the Slack, hi, this is my name, I'm trying to do a project for isiZulu, for Twi, I'm looking for Twi speakers, and then people who are Twi speakers and interested in your project would then reach out to you. So that's the idea, and yeah.
Yeah. Can you name the main contributions that you think the Mazakane community project has brought? Because you were saying that initially you were trying to face some, or you were trying to solve or addressing some challenges. Can you name the main contributions that you are doing?
So in terms of the main contributions, I would say our main contributions come in the form of the number of models. So models here mean human language technologies, so maybe machine translation models that have come out. We've created as a community, counting the individual contributions, it's more than 47 different models that support African languages that are there. About 200 plus data sets, because data is what you need to build this AI and these technologies. So we have, as a community, we have created more than 200. We've actually even created some data sets that never had African languages before, like named entity recognition and news data sets. We've also fostered partnerships with key organizations like Google and Meta towards including African languages and doing research on these African languages. Yeah, this is how I would summarize it.
So we were talking about the contributions. I would like also to ask you, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing during this lifetime of your project? What were the biggest challenges?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think when we started, or like when I joined Masakane, I remember I had a lot of ideas. I wanted to. I'm a very ambitious person, and I really wanted to. I had some really good ideas that I believed would really change the pace of language technologies or digital innovation for African languages. I think funding was one main bottleneck for me personally. It was just, you have these ideas, but you don't have enough funding or anyone to support you. And I know many researchers on the African continent, when you try to go for funding, they always have these requirements, like you should be affiliated with some organization that has a history of blah, blah, blah. It really makes it hard to access some of these funding grants and opportunities. And I think this is where Masakane is helping, because by having the Masakane Research Foundation, it's having this consortium to accept funds and distribute funds to the community members. So yeah, I would say funding. That's the first one that comes to my mind. Of course, there's other side ones like access to compute resources. I remember as a researcher trying to get some GPUs. There's these other tiny ones, but I would put funding there as.
And still, this is a challenge.
Well, yes, it's still a challenge. Probably is less of a challenge now because of the Masakane Research Foundation, because of the recognition that we're getting. It's really helping to enable us to access some of the funding opportunities, but it's still a challenge.
So, comparing the initial stage of your project, of your community, and today, do you find some differences? If yes, what are the differences that you find?
So initially,
in a lot of terms, of course, you can speak about technology, funding, whatever.
I mean, one major difference is just the amount of members we have. That's really crazy. When I first joined Masakane, I think we're over just 900 or so. And so the pace at which it grows is really amazing. And that's one major difference. What else? I think the impact we've had, because when I first joined Masakane, or when I first got into building language technologies for African languages, I could not even find a keyboard for my African language. And there are many people or many Africans that have this similar experience where you cannot find the keyboard to even write in your language. You cannot find the simple translation. The major translation engines don't support your language. You cannot even search for your language. You put your language on the search and it starts telling you something else. But now I think a lot of that has changed with the amount of data sets, amount of research, amount of tools that have been created by various people, not even particularly affiliated with Masakane. That has really changed and brought African languages on the human language technologies map. It has made it possible to write stuff in my language. It has made it possible to build data, to write content and build tools for my African language and for many other African languages. Yeah, that's what's changed over
Thank you.
time.
And now, what are your plans for the future? What are your top priorities? Also, considering the topic of our session, this arts-driven innovation, the digital and the human-driven innovation, what are the priorities now for the future?
When you say you mean me personally, or you mean Masakane?
Who knows? You can say the two.
Okay.
We can start by the Mazakane community, and then you also talk about your personal priorities.
I say, one of the priorities of the Masakane community. So we started as a community. We're just people trying to work together. But over time, we've realized the need to have a kind of a legal entity to help with the funding and distributing funds, to help with protecting the community members, to help with ensuring that the community members are not exploited. So one priority is really building this research foundation. Masakene was registered as a research foundation in Kenya, and trying to build this ethics board and legal structure to ensure that we can better serve the community members. Also, pioneering research and more research for African languages. So that's doing more research, building more data sets, more models. Incubating other ideas, because you have people that come to Masakane, but they want to build their own company, they want to build their own startup, they want to do their own thing. So kind of incubating these ideas and helping them grow. These are the priorities of Masakane at this point in time.
Masakane, and for you now?
So for me, I consider myself a researcher and an entrepreneur. So while doing research with a lot of amazing people, I also try to look into how to translate this research output to tangible products. So I'm currently working on Langtry, and it's basically a project that's trying to tackle some of the challenges of implementing AI in Africa, especially the data set challenges. Like, how can you find data for a very low resource language like Twi or like Afan? If you want to build technologies for these languages, you need data. But how can you build this data? If you just go online and scrape the internet, there's a lot of garbage there. So you will not get high quality data for these languages, and you will not get a high quality model. So how can you really build data with the speakers, with the community, and build this data in a way that benefits them? So we call it data farming. It's about growing data with the community in a way that it gives back to the community. And it's an opposition to data mining, which is what you see everywhere, which is just you go to a website and scrape the internet, scrape lots of data, go build your stuff and sell it back. So we're trying to incorporate data farming at Langtry, and this is some of the things I'm excited for. It's very complex. It has a lot of questions that keep branching out more and more, like how do you build better data licenses? But I believe that it's important to start somewhere, and that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much, Chris. A lot of stuff to think about, and let's think about them also by asking our other guests to join the conversation. Please welcome also Gideon, Femi, Tammy, and David. So Gideon, Brefo, by starting with you, Gideon is from Ghana. He's CEO of APA Space, a digital innovation hub. Tammy is from South Africa, curator, cultural producer, researcher, and founder of Art Meets Collective, a project that you can also find here being exhibited in Ars Electronica. They also got a prize, Cultech Ars Electronica Award, please check them, being exhibited also here. And Femi Johnson from Nigeria, also welcome, and thank you for joining us today, director and producer, working in the fields of visual art, film and technology, and a super interesting specialist in digital heritage at the Museum of West African Art. And finally, but not least, David Shongo from DR Congo, a composer, visual artist, co-founder of Studio 1960, artist director of the Pianos Festival in Kinshasa, and interested in the various possibilities of sound and image. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please also warm applause to them. So, and now, please, let's pretend that we didn't speak before the session, okay? Please give me a little of surprise, because we are going to start with a question where I will ask you to write some things, okay? So let's go to the basics. I know that we are in Ars Electronica and we are speaking about digital and that stuff, but anyways, we sometimes need to go to the basics, and for this I'm going to ask you to write a word in a sheet of paper, really simple, as we were kids in the school. Please, one for you, one pen. Another one for you.
Thank you.
Please, just pick one pen and pass to the next one. Sorry for showing you my backside. And for you. This one is just for you to write better. A sheet of paper, and for you as well. Thank you very much. So now, let me say the question. What is the question, and why I am asking them to write just one word. This is why, because they speak a lot, and we need to prevent passing the time. So the question is, what are the important elements that can drive digital innovation in your view? Please write one word and then explain us, justify us why you picked that word. So, question, what are the important elements that can drive digital innovation in your view?
Just one word?
Yes. Well, you can say two words if it is no. Have you already picked? No. Femi, are you? Yeah? So let's start with Femi. Femi, what was the word?
Culture. Culture, but it's cultural integration.
Please.
Shall I
say
justify it? Shall
yes.
I? Okay.
Yes, please.
I wrote something down, but it's quite short and taint. In the African context, one of the crucial elements that drive digital innovation is culture. Culture represents the soul and identity of a people. And in Africa, it's a reservoir of untapped potential. Historically, colonization stripped African nations of their cultural heritage, but now by emphasizing on culture, we can harness its power to propel innovation. By infusing digital endeavors with the richness of our diverse cultures, we can create a unique and intuitive design framework that resonates with the masses. This approach can bridge the gap between technology and the people, making innovation feel like home and fostering a sense of belonging in the digital age.
Thank you, Femi. Does anyone wants to comment the answer from Femi? Yes, Tammy. She's saying, oh, Gideon.
I'm talking about it because I think that it complements what I wrote, or my complements yours. You're the beginner. I wrote enabling as my word because technology fusing that into art and culture we see technology as just an enabler. There are drivers. In Ghana, for instance, it's a land of culture and art. But most people are just finding this as skill. But now building that as business has become a problem. And so they need to build business models around it. And in order that they can reach bigger markets, they also need technology as an enabler. And so that is what can help us grow the art and culture ecosystem in the country. And for Hyperspace, as a digital innovation hub, we are supporting these art startups to build business models around them and adopt technologies that will help to also help them expand, reach bigger markets, and be able to become global in nature in what they are doing.
Okay, thank you. Does someone want to comment Femi and Gideon contribution?
I won't comment necessarily, but similarly, I'll kind of tag my word onto this growing caterpillar. The word I had was partnership. And maybe builds on what you're saying in the sense that, at Art Meets, we work a lot with collaboration, and artistic practice often can work with collaboration, but for us, partnership was important to see how different sets of skills, resources, networks, and needs come together, work together to expand and perhaps enable. So I think partnership was our contribution.
Thank you, Tammy. Do you want, because you were, please.
Tying into what you said about partnership and enabling, mine was community, and it's about you need people, you need a community of people for digital innovation. At the end, it's people who are doing this. And so one thing we've also, like Masakane has shown, is the power of community. If you have one person, two people doing something, that's good. But if you have 10, 15 people, a community working together, then it's even better. There was a proverb that my mom used to tell me, or me and my twin sister. We had a broomstick. Broom is what you use in Nigeria for sweeping. We don't have the vacuum stuff, and during when we were young, we just use a broomstick. So if you take one or two of the sticks, you can break it. But if you take the whole broomstick, you cannot break it. So it shows the power of community, and that ties into partnerships and culture, and
Thank you, Chris. Yes, David.
So, thank you for the question. I think I will note, my English is not well from Congo, and so we are talking about language, and my language, my official language, it is French, and so I cannot talk about Africa because Africa no exists, it is a version of colonization, so I can talk to you about Ubuntu. Ubuntu, it is, it is our philosophy, to coexist, and I cannot exist without another person. And it is like my friend talked about community, partnership. It is that for us. It is so. We are talking about the language. The problem is not just language in technology. It is all. It is also the instruments. I'm a musician, and I cannot find the instrument from Africa in Logic Pro or something. And so I think the question is how we can really to be together. It is not just the slogan in French it means slogan, to be together, political slogan. And Ubuntu, it is really to be together because I cannot exist without another person. That is my, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. So let's go to the next question. Of course, we have just a few time to explore a very long list of questions, and I'm trying to pick some of them to launch the discussions. For instance, if later on you would like to approach some of those issues that I raised during this session, please contact our panelists, of course. Then the next question, how do you describe the innovation ecosystem in your country? So let's go deep and trying to explore a little bit more about the context of your countries, of course, Africa in general, but in specific in your country. So how do you describe the innovation ecosystem in your country, and what role arts is playing on it? Gideon, you start. You speak, you start.
Right. So the innovation ecosystem in Ghana is growing. In the past about 8 years, it has seen a boom. It started with the springing up of many innovation hubs across the country. Good for us. We have an innovation hub in each region of the country. So it is bringing people together. It's creating the Ubuntu, a place where people know we can meet if we want to talk about innovation. And unlike people working in silos, now they have a community that will question what they are doing, and it helps them to iterate. In terms of support, we are also drawing the government into it. And so now we have even drawn up a draft startup act that is going to support the artists in what they will do. In doing this, a very important thing is coming up, in the art space. We are talking about IP, intellectual property. Who owns the art piece is something important. So that's also something that is being addressed. And also pushing the government to come up with policies that will allow these artists to create the necessary businesses around their skill sets and be able to also take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to also move to the other parts of the continent and of course reach out to Europe. So that's the position that we are in now in Ghana.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gideon.
Very interesting. To add to that, when I think about the art ecosystem in Nigeria, I guess everybody can see that individually you see a lot of Nigerians doing a lot of stuff. You see Nigerians as individuals thriving around the world. We see it in entertainment, we see it in academia. And we see it also in technology, because we see lots of banking things come out from Nigeria, finance, InterSwitch is Nigerian, etc. However, when I look at it as a collective, I'm not as enthusiastic because I don't see a lot of group things for innovation. That's why we're coming together in my work, the Museum of West African Arts, to try and drive innovation, try and build upon what we have. And to that end, to answer the last part of your question where you said, how does art play a role in innovation? We see now with, like I said, Nigerians doing lots of things around the world. We see different perspectives being brought back into Nigeria, and then art is reframing the mind of the people. Art can be used to change narratives. It can be used to show people where they can be. And that is the goal. That is what we're doing. That is how innovation is doing.
Thank you very much. Next one. Tammy.
So I think I'll go to the kind of project that I'm representing as well. The Art Meets app was built out of wanting to find ways that art is innovating where it is. Map artists, map projects. So I want to do a little shout out for different projects that are happening in the world of innovation. A lot of them are working through academia, where not only science and art partnerships, technology and art partnerships are happening, but institutions like museums are also bringing in other kinds of research departments to develop what artistic practice can do and be, and how to showcase that. There's also a lot of work, and I would love to hear Femi talk more about this, in terms of restitution and coding and data. So there's an organization called Undani Africa that is doing that in South Africa. So I think there are lots of prongs in order to talk about what innovation means and what innovation means for the people of South Africa, which we also know is a strange border. But I think it goes into many prongs, and I'm shouting these out because I want to acknowledge that the app that we were building and developing was about showing that diversity and like looking in those different directions for what innovation means in art and what it could look like.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Chris.
So as an AI scientist, I've been, I like to do the AI stuff, the coding, and up until recently, I haven't been conversant of art, and it's only about a year ago that I started working with my sister around Nigerian mixed media art. I started working around poetry, African poetry, and started working on how can you kind of imbue these concepts in AI. And so I started seeing the role of art and how it shapes AI. So if you see AI as a kind of as a black box, imbuing this AI or this thing or this technology with the culture, with the values through the artworks helps shape these technologies to better serve the communities. And so I started, by doing this work, I got to see the role of art and poetry in the work that I'm doing. So I wouldn't say I come from an art side, but I've learned to appreciate and to see the role that these artworks and output. And for me, art is also a way of thinking. It changes the way you think about these scientific things, because we as scientists, we just like to think in numbers and code. Mm-hmm. But when you bring in the artistic way of thinking, it really brings a new dimension to the things we're building, or the things I'm building as an AI scientist. And the way I'm building them, the structure and the things I'm imbuing the system with. So yeah, this is how I can comment on art and the role of art in digital innovation and language technologies.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. David, the last one. You also have here microphones.
Thank you. It is a really difficult question. In the Congo, we have the break between arts, society, and science, because the one image we have in the science, it is ethnography and anthropology. And so today, the energy, it is also how we can put out the technology, the innovation can give us the new tools to organize our society and to I think the really emerging, it is the human ecology, if we can say that, how we can try to be, I don't know, in French, it means comment on peut arrêter la toxicité, how we can break the toxicity of our country. And so we try to reconnect with the science, with technology. Let's talk about one technology from Congo. It is Shongo. It is the first really odd binary code in Congo. And I know one filmmaker, and he's working about that technology. And so I cannot explain you real that, because we have many emerging, and the innovation, it is in another place in Congo. It is about economic, about, we are many world in Congo, in the East. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. This leads me to another question that the ones that already had some focus group with me knows this question. If I asked you if there is a cross-disciplinary innovation ecosystem in your country, would you say that yes, no? What are the characteristics of this innovation? What are the aims, the goals? What would you say?
Is it on? Yes.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my head really is what we're doing at the museum, because I think it's quite interesting. At the Museum of West African Art, there's so much going on in archaeology and architecture, but my project has been in terms of the digital, where integrating history, art, and technology by going to digitize artifacts that were spread by the British after the attack on the Benin Kingdom in 1897. We've been scanning them together. There's a collection of 900 artifacts. And rumor has it that if we have all the things together, it's supposed to tell us a story. And that alone, how it's going to influence the people of Benin, telling people about their history, their culture. And not just that, but building a whole community around it, getting local artisans, because these artifacts that I'm talking about are bronzes from Benin. And to really get into the research, we have to involve the ancient lineage of bronze casters, the palace, all the different artists. That is building an ecosystem. That is changing Nigeria, hence changing Africa and the world. But that's one thing I wanted to highlight that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So in Ghana too, a lot of things are happening that shows that art is cutting across. In terms of education, we have the Ghana Library Board now digitizing most of the books that are even difficult to come by and are in short supply to the schools so that every student will have access to these. There are individuals that are also doing this. You know, some countries like Ghana, some parts, we are losing our culture. Because of globalization. But these things, the new age should be aware of them. There are some of them that can be improved, of course, but knowing and understanding how that can be involved is important. So there are individuals that are also collecting these old traditions that are no longer in existence and digitizing them and making people aware of them, which I think is important that they are doing. And like Chris said, technology cannot work in isolation. Like I said earlier, it's an enabler. And so if you take a computer scientist and he is only thinking technology, whatever the person comes up will be skewed. And so you need people from the social sciences, the art and culture, environment to help shape what these people, technology can do so that it better aligns. So in Ghana, yes, I can say that art is interdisciplinary and it is helping shape the growth of technology across board.
Mm-hmm. But can you say that not only the artists, but also the researchers and the tech guys, the tech companies are also interested in and keen to have this ecosystem, these cross-disciplinary collaborations? What is your feeling about that?
Yes, because now in Ghana, everything is about the network that you belong to.
Okay.
So like I said earlier, even for those in the digital hub space, we have the Ghana Hubs Network. There is the Arts and Culture Association. There are people in the tech group. For instance, in Kumasi, we have the Kumasi Tech Community. And if really the app you are developing or the innovation you are coming up will really scale, you need to be in that group. Because one, they are going to be the early adopters. They are the ones going to give you feedback to iterate, etc. and etc. So even the government is now recognizing the need to build an ecosystem. So in Ghana, there are a lot of agencies that are coming up from the government. For instance, we have the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan that is supported by the executive instrument in the country, and this is supporting people to come together. And there is also the Ghana Enterprise Authority that is also bringing people in art, other MSMEs together. So really, we are coming together, and I think that is a way to go, and it's going to help to speed up our innovation processes.
Okay, thank you very much. Gideon, do you want to comment this last thing, Femi, about the involvement of research also the tech side?
Yes, so
In your country, of course, in
my
Nigeria.
country, yes, of course, and also in relation to the museum, because the museum sits on something called the Creative District, which is a little bit more than 15 acres of land, and then we're trying to build a whole community of different artisans to come together and rechange the whole. In Nigeria, we have 2 major cities, unfortunately, out of all the 36. But if you're going to go for any arts thing, you'd be going to either the capital, Abuja, or Lagos, which is bad. And we're building one in Benin so we can spread it around, start to have this ecosystem, this great Nigeria that we talk about. There is more things happening though, like with ArtX, the fair, which is the largest fair in West Africa, art fair in West Africa. We see so many people coming together. Rarible was there, they were having a collaboration with ArtX. It's interesting what can be done and what is happening. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Femi. Now, Tammy, tell me more about South Africa, of course. Is there this cross-disciplinary innovation ecosystem? What are the key characteristics? Is there an involvement of artists and also research and the tech side? Could you tell us more about?
I'll tell you the story of how, of the dead end of trying to find a development team for the app.
Yeah.
Because we realized how painted into a corner art and artists were and cultural practitioners were to digital infrastructure and development and tech teams. It was a foreign language, it was processes and systems, infrastructure we didn't understand. But I mean, I think through the app project, it was about overlapping processes, shifting and changing. We worked with about 3 or 4 different UX UI designers, a team of developers, an artist who did all the design for the app, the visuals that you see throughout the app. We actually worked with an artist who works with Pigeon, who worked with the copy in the app. So it was about overlaying different kinds of skills to build a kind of team that had assets in these different worlds. And our aim is really just to develop that kind of approach for the app. But I love that you brought in the kind of physical landscape, because in the context of South Africa, that's really important. We have, I would say, maybe 3 major cities, and only 2 of them really see impactful, maybe more public or global arts and culture projects and programs, and everything else is kind of in the dark, off the map, not seen, not known about. And so it's also about building ecosystems beyond urban spaces and outside of just infrastructure. I mean, most people that live in the cities, either as South Africans or other African people, they go between different sites and spaces. So you're always going between one home to another home to a city where you work, etc. So how do those ecosystems include all those worlds? Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy. Chris.
What I can talk about is at Masakane, what we call the participatory approach. And it connects what you've been talking about and about bringing in the artists and tech and forming this ecosystem that brings them together. The participatory wheel talks about making sure that everyone who should be in the room is in the room. So whatever it is you're doing, whether it's research, whether it's an art project, whatever project you're doing, you need different people with different disciplines and different experts. And we all have things we're good at and things we're not good at. We all have different views, but ensuring that all the necessary people that should be in the room are in the room, that's really how you create a truly great project like the Art Meets. It's how you create things that do well and have a lasting impact. And so we're bringing this idea to research in AI, because before, research in AI and language technologies has mostly been about having just the technologists and the programmers who create these models, and that's it. But with the participatory wheel that Masakane brings in, you include the language speakers, you include even the grandmothers and the mothers with the age of wisdom and the ancestral knowledge that they bring, you include every group of people somehow in this approach to building language technologies. And so this is what we have been doing, and the idea is to take this to other disciplines and other things that we're working on.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Now, David, if you could share also with us.
Yeah, thank you. The last years we work with Gideon, I don't know if you know, we're in Brussels, in the START project where they found the bourse something. We are working one project with Philip van Dingenen, it is from Flemish in Belgium, and we are working in Congo about about technology in Congo. And in our research we understand the story of technology. It is the story of violence in Congo, you know, and we try to create you can say, we create the resilience algorithm, something, or what it means technology resilience for the Congolese people and the ecosystem, you know, the artist ecosystem working in technology, try to create that resilience technology, you know, and because you know the story of Congo, it is the story of mineral and of technology, and what does it mean for us to talk about technology, to try to put the resiliency technology. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Yeah, Femi. Yeah.
So what you said reminded me of something, and I think I like it a lot. And also when you're talking about data mining and data farming, I thought that was very interesting. So the artifacts I've been researching are called the Benin bronze plaques. And a lot of the information, all the information actually about them are all Eurocentric. And then people come to this far African place to come and name something without context, you know? So like something that might have been like for shitting, they might call it a plate, something like that. Pardon me. And so what I had to do in terms of research, because we've been building this community, like I said, with the bronze casters, the palace, was I had to go back down on the ground and ask everybody about this artifact. Like, what are the people saying as opposed to information from 1897 from people that didn't live there? So I just wanted to add that. That's very interesting.
Thank you, Femi, for this addition. Okay, so our next question, we are going again to the basics, okay? This super digital thing. But in the meantime, please, Patricia, tell me if we need to remind everybody that we are collecting questions from the audience. Please, another paper for you. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Okay, so please, if you have questions, just scan the QR code and submit them. Then my colleague, my reporter in the audience, Patricia, will pick one of two of them. Okay, so next question, please. Prepare your pens. What crucial aspects could support an enhanced innovation ecosystem in your country? In particular, an ecosystem based in multidisciplinary collaboration, so art, science, technology, collaborations. Please write two aspects, and then I will ask you to read it and justify it, of course. And in the meantime, the audience, please think about questions that you would like to address with the panelists. Take your time also to write them at this moment.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. Crucial aspects that could support an enhanced, so an improved innovation ecosystem in your country, in your case, the community. Maybe you can address the community. And please do not write just funding, okay? But maybe this could also be interesting to address how could Europe and Africa-Europe collaborations could somehow also be supporting this. I don't know, I'm just thinking. Okay, one more minute and then we are ready to go.
Why do you say do not write just funded?
Huh?
Why do you say we should not just write funded?
Well, because I think this is the easiest issue, the easiest, and I'm trying to be to have a diverse answers. But of course, if you think that funding. Okay, Femi. Yeah. Please.
I have two things. The second one is, let me just read it out. Empowering the lower socioeconomic class and also fostering collaboration between arts and technology. But where I like to focus on actually is empowering the lower economic class. Because first of all, loads of people, and I'd like to actually say, loads of people know about Nigeria, about scamming and all these things, which is not the entire reality. It's quite crass anytime I hear it, and it makes me feel sad. But we do see a lot of people, youth, who have so much talent, so much ability, who are interested in coding. And because there is no pathway, there is no opportunity for development, you see them going into more diabolical things like scamming and all those things. However, if we can empower them, give them jobs, give them education, give them knowledge, and give them money, they would be able to, you're spending money in the lower class, you're educating people, you're bringing all this information down. We would see people raise themselves out of poverty, of the financial and the mind. That is what I think we have to do. That's the one point. Fostering collaboration, of course, we have to come together and make things happen. But to me, that is the main thing. That is how I think a lot of things can be solved in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Femi. Gideon.
For me, my first point I wrote is about policy. This is the case that even traveling across countries in Africa itself, it's almost impossible. First of all, the visa processes. Yeah. And then at the ports, because there are events we've done in Ghana and we wanted people from our brothers, Nigeria, to come. And it's so difficult, especially those who want to travel by land, because they fear what will happen at the border. and so we need the government agencies to take deep interest in what is happening and understanding how arts, culture, technology, and what we are building as individuals can help to shape the economic improvement of the various countries. That is key. So that they bring that to the table when they meet to talk. Maybe we should be invited to the AU conference and then voice that out. And then you talk about collaboration, but I wrote collaborative platforms. The thing is that now we are talking about the Pan-African art scene, right? And we are talking also about Europe to Africa and Africa to Europe. There should be platforms where individual artists can showcase what they are doing and then even get to learn from each other, because we need inspiration. So just by seeing what somebody is doing in some part of Europe can really shape what I'm doing in Ghana. And so there should be that platform. And then also we're having a conversation, John, Chris, and myself before this session, and we're like, there's so much going on. There is so little known by individuals. And so can there be a platform, a one-stop shop platform that showcases all that is being done in the ecosystems across Africa and Europe and everywhere, so that I know that if I go to this place, I know all that is happening. How can I participate in that? How can I also showcase what I'm doing? We need such platforms, and that can promote and shape what is happening.
Okay, thank you very much, Gideon. Tammy.
I want to just piggyback and say, we're hoping that's what the app does. I will say, not based on your request, but my number one was, can we have other measures of success besides economic and funding questions? Coming from the humanities, there's always kind of a profit-driven question of, but what does it do? What is it going to do in terms of numbers?
Can you suggest some alternatives? Have you something in mind?
So, I mean, one thing we tried to embed into the app was a solidarity economy, which was looking at how do we not only think about what we can pay someone for a service, but what can we barter and offer and trade and exchange between each other in order to think differently about how our skills and services meet each other. So, yeah, it's a small example of how we were thinking about that in a practical way within the app. My other kind of suggestion was digital infrastructure, and I guess piggybacked on that is that data and access is not dispersed equally. So there are pockets literally in landscapes where you don't get signal, where you're not gonna download that WhatsApp, you're not gonna download that email, which I think on the one hand is important not to expect that technology and data access is everywhere, but on the other hand, that means people fall off the map again and become almost invisibilized. And so those things kind of work hand in hand in us building those platforms that then can circulate and show people what is happening where, how do they access it, where do they get in touch with the right people to visit, to attend, to participate, to then collaborate and partner. So, yeah, I think the digital infrastructure one is a complicated question to think about and deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Now, Chris.
Yeah, I wrote funding, but then I canceled it after you said not funding.
No, feel free to
And then
to
I decided to think more about it. And I think by thinking more, I kind of went a bit more personal than just like the country or the organization. What I have seen personally is that, like I think Femi also mentioned, like in Nigeria, for example, you have this bad image about Nigeria, and it also connects with the who owns the truth, right? When I've heard this saying that the people who write history are the winners, and what they write is what you take as the truth. And when you go to the media, who are the people putting this knowledge out there that we all read and take in as the truth? So there's a lot that's not known about Nigeria, about many African countries. What we see on the news media, on the web news and everything is what they want to see. It's hardly written by the Africans themselves. And then on the second point, you have so much talent in many African countries, and I think the one problem is there isn't opportunity provided to them. When I see cool things happening from Stanford or Harvard, when I was young, I used to think, oh my God, these are like gods, they're so intelligent. But I've grown to find that just normal people, like many, there are even more talented people in Africa, it's just the access to the opportunity. So what I'm trying to do with even the Masakania, with the platforms that we have, I see myself as one of the few who have been put in a position in this platform. It's about creating opportunities for people. And by bringing opportunities to them, that's to the different people in and around Africa, you actually give them the space to show the talent and show what they're good at. So that's one part, creating opportunities. I think that's something that will really help to, based on your question, which I've forgotten, but that's something that will really help to improve, improve digital human and innovation in Africa. The second one is training. And here I want to call out DSN, so Data Scientist Network. When it comes to AI, this organization took up the task of doing intensive training in Nigeria. They have the mission of training about 1 million Nigerians in AI. And you see there's so many people who have so many wonderful ideas around using AI to solve agriculture or some sector in Nigeria. And they just need this training to understand the basics of AI, which is really not complicated when we actually try to demystify it and not making it sound like some magical thing. And then when they get the training, they're able to actually use it as an enabler to actually solve the challenges that they have. And then by creating opportunities for them, we actually give them the chance to shine and to do what they were meant to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Yes, so David, last one. Aspects for an improved.
Also help me to yes, it means in French it means rien chanter, but in English it means rien chanting. I don't know what it means. It is correct, rien chanting.
Yeah?
Rien chanter.
Who speaks French?
Who speaks French? Rien chanter. No?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Maybe you can explain what it is.
Yes.
So rien chanter means to give another energy to it's like person died and just for we put that person it is a rien chanter. It is to
Resurrection.
like resurrect, yeah. And I think it is that we need in my country. It is how we can
Okay, change the mindsets or yeah.
and all the mindsets. I think the mindset we have that we are like we are asleep, because the political system wants that in Congo, and wants the society no move, and the access of technology, the access of information, of connaissance. What does it mean, connaissance? Knowledge. Huh? Knowledge can give up the person. You cannot imagine in election the politics cut the internet. Why? Because once the people take the information, and that is our how we can re-chanter. Achille Mbembe talk about Achille Mbembe, maybe it is a philosopher from Cameroon, talk about a re-chantement de l'Afrique. How the African can himself to with all tools, with technology, with science, with story, and I think it is that we need in Congo.
Yeah, thank you very much, David, for these ones. I would like to go deep in these challenges, but now what I can do is to challenge everyone to think about these aspects that could improve. Do you want to say something, Gideon?
Yes.
Yeah.
What David said brought something to mind.
Yes.
That in Congo people are sleeping, and we need to wake them up. I think it's similar in Ghana. Usually we say that our brothers in Nigeria, they are aggressive. They see the opportunities and then they go after them. Yeah. So in terms of training, that's something that we can also do to help these artists. That it is not only about sustenance, right? But it is about being innovative to build businesses around the skills that they have, so that they can recognize the opportunities, especially in terms of technology, that can help them scale. So for instance, there is blockchain. And so are all artists thinking about how they can take advantage of blockchain technologies, AI, machine learning to improve, or they are seeing themselves as, okay, we are artists, they are technologies, and we are in two different kind of worlds. So that's what we consciously need to do. And for instance, at Hyperspace, as a hub, that's what we try to do, bring in those that matter to the room, to the board, and say that, okay, as an artist, you might need somebody who is a developer to help you and see what else you can do. To do this. You need a marketer, because if you are just creating art pieces and they are just a collection in your room, you are creating a gallery. But if even it's a gallery, people need to know about the gallery and come there to either see or buy from you, right? So I'm happy to see a number of people going this route. Like for instance, there in Ghana, there is the tingatingaarts.com. He's only focusing on selling art pieces from Ghana. And so we need more of these in this space, that collaborative effort that help people to take their art and culture to the rest of the world.
I want to say something.
Yeah, I was sure this was a critical point.
It's important. So I'm agreeing with my friend, and the conclusion for me, it is the future of technology, it is in Africa, I'm sure. Because when Africa was reachanté, I don't know what it means in English.
Yes.
I think, yesterday we were talking about the noise, the miss noise. I don't know, ce qui manque. That is we miss. And I think in our ecosystem, global ecosystem, we can talk about. I think we miss the perspective from Africa, because Africa sleep. Also because the person no wants to listen. That. So maybe in the after 7 or 10 years, the future of technology will be that continent. I'm sure.
I will no doubt about that. Hopefully, Europe can also be part of that.
Hopefully. We'll check. But yes, I absolutely agree. The whole of Africa is a sleeping giant. So much wealth, so much abundance.
Maybe I wouldn't say sleeping. It's about the context, the history. We feel that also in Portugal, we were facing a dictatorship for years, and this also had an impact in the society.
Fair.
And I think of course, it's different, the context, but in some way there are similarities in this.
I agree completely. I just wanted to agree with both of you that yes. Genau.
I was sure that these aspects, this artist financing thing, this is a really critical, and there are some reactions, I'm sure, from the audience about that. But anyways, if you want to discuss that point with our panelists, go ahead and contact them. Last question from my side, then we go to the others and hear the questions from them. What advices can you share for those willing to cooperate with you, African-based organizations, individuals?
Why are you running away from starting? Yeah, so the invitation is come, right? Africa, like we've said, is like a virgin island. There is so much to be exploited. It's only an emerging economy, right? An ecosystem. So there's so much that you can do by collaborating with the people on the ground. So, for instance, Europe is advanced in technology. And we know that the arts and culture space in Africa needs so much technology to enhance what is being done. And so come with that technology and partner with the African arts, right? Because people love our arts. They love our culture, but some of them, even within the same country, people are not aware of what is happening, right? And it's difficult to travel to every corner and observe what is being done over there. And so the driver is going to be technology. And so come with that support and partner with the individuals in Africa, and you'll be able to build very sustainable businesses there.
Thank you, Gideon. Femi, yeah.
So I actually have something very specific to say regarding this. And I was happy that, like I said yesterday, you were talking to Nadine from the Goethe Institute in Nigeria. But then I feel like when people are coming in to sponsor or to try to do anything at all, what should be done is there's already cultural bodies that pair really well with European ways of doing things. For example, the Goethe Institute, Alliance Française, what's it called, the British Council, who have been in Nigeria for years. They're like our family, you know what I mean? But coming in, I feel those things should be a platform. The European body comes and powers the Niger. So it's like you are powering Nigerians to have more nuanced ways of creating opportunity, as opposed to coming and saying, oh, okay, we are Europe, come and do this, our style. No. If you partner with people who are on ground to make something more nuanced, you would see value in what you're doing. You would see people be able to understand because it's familiar to them. So that's one thing I really believe in. You come, power with somebody that's already doing work on the ground, who has indexes, who have all these things, and it'd be interesting how it will work out.
Okay, noted. So partnering with the ones in the ground. Yeah. Tammy.
This is a really hard and complicated question because as much as we're saying maybe the continent is a sleeping giant, it's a crippled giant also, and I think we can't not talk to the fact that there is colonialism that we're still experiencing, like borders, which kind of hold us back from progress and kind of hinder a lot of important movement forward. And I know my word was partnership, so clearly I should have a better handle at answering this question. But I think also partnership is happening on different levels for different reasons. So many of our presidents on the continent are talking now to using our own currencies to trade. And so what does that mean in relation to BRICS, in relation to the Goethe Institute and Pro Helvetia and all these other cultural bodies that do sponsor and do work on the continent and have done so for many, many, many years. So who is really driving culture? I mean, I can say in a South African context, our previous cultural minister was the head of the police. So what does it mean for knowledge of how culture works and how it's driven in a country, for example? So yeah, there are a lot of layers of things going down here. So I don't have a clear answer for you, but I think it is about being very sensitive and delicate around ongoing questions of how do we fairly, equally, honestly, transparently trade and engage with each other.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Chris, what advices can you share with us?
So I do not agree strong about Africa being a sleeping bed. I think if you're comparing Africa with
some friction, I like it.
With I understand some of the reasons for thinking about that, but sometimes progress is not just measured compared to the West. Sometimes progress is measured compared to the community, and sometimes they don't want to be like the West or have such fancy things. But that aside, yeah, it's about partnerships and collaborations, and everyone is welcome to partner and collaborate. There are two kinds of partnerships that I have seen. There is the extractive partnership, and there's regenerative. So the extractive one is what we don't want. It's, you don't come with the money and say, hey, I want you to build this data get me translators, I'll pay them. They build this data for me and I go do my thing. Or here is some money, do this and go do my thing. So that's extractive. And we've had that for quite a while in different sectors. Like the artists can talk about the art domain. Me in the AI, I can talk about seeing this in the AI and language technologies domain. One thing that the Masakane community, this is the idea of having the legal entity that protects the interests of the community members, is pushing forward this idea of regenerative partnerships, which is, don't just give us the money to do this thing and then go, like include us in this thing you're building, because then we can tell you that, hey, if you're trying to build a machine translation app for Twi, maybe you should consider this dialect, maybe you should consider that. So inclusive collaborations, regenerative in the sense that you're not just coming to take and go, but you're also enabling giving back. So these are the kind of partnerships and collaborations that I would propose that's what we want, basically.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, David.
I like the question of extraction. So I think the sleeping we'll talk about after. So I think I have one friend from Nigeria, and it is anthropology and geographer, and it's crazy because he proposed one project to come to work in Africa to discover all river of Africa over Europe. It is crazy because it is like Chris said, it is, so the collaboration today, I think it is, we must thinking the origin, what means collaboration. In Congo, the collaboration, it is the AIA, it means Association Internationale Africaine. It is Leopold created that. It is all we are going to help the African people. That is the collaboration today. And we must thinking about what is cooperation. The responsibility is not for West or for the I don't know, China, or it is also for us what we can give in the world, because we are many things to give in the world. It is that I say we must réenchanter the world, because we have many things to give the world. And the collaboration, it is that what you give us and what I give you. It is not just, we need not just money, because, in Congo, for example, we have not a problem for food. We have not that problem. Every person can eat. We have not need money. We just that to live well, and to live well, it is how we can be in the story of words, because we are in the story, but we must just activate that, that our position, and the collaboration is of that. What is our position in I don't know, project of starts, or today it is South Africa, but what does it mean South Africa? It is to give the money, or it is to create the new narrative, maybe to invite also the African people to come to work in the technology from West. Not just to go to help African to building, but we can also come here to say, okay, man, we know that we must be careful, And that is my project in Bunker. My project in Bunker to talk about that. The person today protects the planet. It is not that person talk about ecology. And it is a very problem, because in Congo we are the big forest. It is in French it means Réserve mondiale de carbone. So how for example, China or French can talk about ecology when in French you cannot found the forest.
Yes.
That is the collaboration, the problem of the collaboration.
Yeah.
I want to just add on that, because there's this question of technology and its definition that I think your work also grapples with. And maybe it's worthwhile untangling that definition of technology. I mean, on the one hand, throughout the conference, people have been saying technology is an appendage, or can be seen as an appendage, allow us to do things that maybe our own brains, body, soul cannot do. But technology in the context of language is a restorative act. And so are we still even talking about the same notion of technology when we think about what Africa contributes to that question? And I think your work beautifully points to that.
Thank you very much for my guests. Just to say about the Stars for Africa, we are keen to have these cross collaborations also in building our activities. Of course, we are talking with you to tailor our activities. Thank you very much for answering my questions. And now, Patricia, tell me what questions came from the audience. I think we just have time for one question, okay?
Yeah, so thank you everyone for submitting your questions. There's actually quite a few, and like Tanya was saying, we might not be able to get through them all, but based on the last few minutes of discussion, there was quite a few people actually interested in this, but they would like you to comment on the role of trust in whether developing your platforms or developing your works or your day-to-day, how does trust play a role in, how you perceive trust in others, but how you make sure that you ensure that they feel trust in you and in your work.
Chris, do you want to start?
Yeah. So trust plays a huge role in this collaboration, especially that's the regenerative type of collaboration, because you need to trust the person who you're collaborating with. There needs to be this mutual trust. And this mutual trust comes from understanding each other. So needing to have these discussions down to the nitty-gritty details. So sometimes we've had some projects to working with some companies, and we actually have the discussions down to who owns the data. What's the aim of this data you're going to use? Where are you going to use it? What's the licensing? So yeah, some of these discussions are not comfortable, and it makes the whole process longer. So maybe you might, in terms of thinking of efficiency, it might take a week instead of a day to establish this partnership. But these discussions enable trusts, and that's what leads to a successful project.
Yes, Gideon.
Yeah, and I think Femi mentioned one thing that is crucial in a trust. If somebody is coming from Europe to collaborate with the people on the ground, there are institutions from Europe that have been on the continent for decades. Like Alliance Française, World Institute, British Council, and the rest. So if you're coming and then you want to win the trust of the locals, you can go through this. Use their platform to launch whatever you want to do, and it's easier. One of the things that in Ghana we are fighting for is IP. Who owns this brand? And once that is done, it will make whoever is creating anything comfortable to bring things out. Otherwise, they build strong and thick walls around it that makes it difficult to collaborate with them.
Thank you so much for saying that. To add to that quickly, I agree. We're talking about them, the people on ground trusting, and also even the European bodies coming in would be able to trust, because all these bodies have set frameworks that work, and they're all indexed properly. However, I also wanted to say, because we've been dealing with these aspects of trust when we've been working at different museums. So recently at Oxford and Cambridge, they were questioning us about like our storage facilities, about who owns the data, especially in this world of the digital. It's very weird, this new thing about who owns physical digital models or whatever.
Yeah, because you are digitizing the
artifacts,
yeah.
Exactly. So we're like, who owns it? What about if we take a screenshot? That's another conversation. However, I have found that in our interactions with these, we just have to go through the process of thrashing everything out. It might be a long bureaucratic process, but then if everything is set in paper, black and white, then yeah, it would be easier to trust.
Tammy, David, do you want to comment this? Yeah, to say
I want to say thank you for your invitation, girlfriends, you, Eriko, Lisa, all person invited us. I think my friend talked about that question. I think it's okay. I want to say thank you because it is important.
Yeah, thank you, David. Tammy, do you want to comment the question that was posed by the audience?
Not necessarily, because I see the time going down, but I would say that in our context, I guess we work with artists, and there is a lot of insecurity around your practice, where your objects and things go. How do institutions work with them? Are they respected? In some instances, I feel like we maybe have to make a tool to make a tool, or we have to still invent the wheel when it comes to certain frameworks around art and what artists produce. And we've struggled with that, I think, definitely. We haven't solved that problem, but trust is at the core of that. Yeah,
thank you very much. So thank you very much to my panelists today, also to you that watched and stayed there with us. Again, just for you to remind, we have opportunities in the Start for Africa and also in African EU for you to collaborate with these folks that joined us today. Again, thank you very much. Please give them a warm applause, and also to you for staying there.